I had to pre-record it because it won't let me do it on live stream. Right? So, the devil. What can I say? The devil. Right? I just rolled out of bed, so I'm a little bit like, yeah, you know. But that's okay. I dial up down the road later. Living at the lodge, with everything that's been going on, and now we have this situation, this possible homicide here. They shut down all many elements of the lodge, and it's just kind of difficult to kind of move around like before. One thing that the owner has to take into account is that because this person expired, in residence, now we have a ghost situation. Now, this person is stuck in limbo. Someone has to come in, like myself, or like me, and a shaman or a high priest to do the proper prayers so he can go to the light and not stay stuck in this realm because he no longer has a body. That's tough. The room is sealed where the person was found. No one is allowed to go back there. The rest of the restaurants were removed. And I don't know what they're going to do. I'll keep you posted. Now, today's lecture is on the occult, and I wrote down the tail end of the spiral. You all know that we are we're in the Milky Way galaxy, right? That's where we're at. And there are not billions, but trillions and trillions and trillions of stars. And it's interesting that scientists say that among all those trillions and trillions and trillions and trillions of stars that makes up the spiral Milky Way, because the Milky Way is just one of many galaxies. We have another galaxy that's next to us, which is Andromeda. And it's unknown if she has more stars than we do in the Milky Way, or if we surpass Andromeda. I do believe that we surpass Andromeda with the amount of trillions of stars, because we were the last Milky Way created before we awoke into consciousness. I have a picture here on my tablet on the spiral universe. Okay, and it's a spiral, right? And what's interesting is that there is a mathematical equation to this. See, it almost looks like a sleeping dragon about to pull up. Or this could be Leviathan rising up from the ethers, which is considered water, space water. That's the ethers, right? You can see it. You can see something in there. Bright, But this is the womb or the nursery that continues to make more stars as they branch outward, right? So let me get a better picture. Okay, there you go. Now, you gotta wonder, is it a coincidence that we are the third rock from the sun? And isn't it interesting that the Milky Way galaxy has 4 arms? Actually 3 arms. And we are at the third juncture of the arm of our Milky Way galaxy. We are the third rock from the sun. See, the number 3 is very significant. And even the position of planet Earth in space is located in a small section within the separated space. It's like a record. You know how a record has the lines around it for each coming song, but there are other lines in between them as it moves towards one to the other? Well, this is what's called the Goldilocks zone, right? And we are on the third ridge, which is the perfect Goldilocks zone, where we have a balance of heat coming from the sun and a balance of coldness as we are further out into space, but not as further out as Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto. Their Goldilocks zones is pretty out there, and it's very cold in these planets because they're far away from the sun. So then you have to ask yourself, because material scientists tell us that the Earth or our solar system is located here. You see the spiral? We are located at the tail end of the spiral, which is somewhere over here. Okay? We are at the tail end of the spiral. Okay? Now, it's interesting that we're at the tail end. We're really, really at the end. At the real end. And then I asked my spirit guides, why are we so far out from the spiral? How come we're not inward? And they told us, especially the elder ones, they tell us that we were created at the tail end to be kind of like a genetic blueprint of all the other billions and trillions of stars that are inside the Milky Way. And that didn't make sense to me. So what do you mean? And they told me that every life wave on Earth exists in these other solar systems as separate entities. Let me explain. For example, we have here, and I made videos about this before. Now we're gonna go a little deeper. And I had to do it that way, because some of the stuff is really, really intense to absorb. So I think it's best to, do videos on this stuff in lapses of time. I remember doing this video and talking about this in the analogy of countries, right? I've done a lot of videos about, countries and the signs of these countries, like a Leo country or a Libra country, and explain that. But it goes further than that. It goes much further. For example, if we're going to jump a little bit to countries, which is a video that I did before last year, or 2 years ago almost, on the astrological signs of different countries. It kind of bears the same analogy that I'm going to do today, right? Is that just like we have separate countries with separate languages and cultures, and even terrain, snow in some countries, it's tropical in other countries, this kind of diversity can be found separately in other planetary systems within our Milky Way. For example, it's funny. We have the movie Interstellar, right, with Matthew McConaughey and Anne Hathaway. they landed on this planet that was water, or seemed like water. No? And the minute they landed on this watery substance, a tidal wave emerged. In fact, it was so tall that it looked like a wall, and they didn't know what it was until they realized that it was a wave. When they landed on that water, it's like a mosquito landing on a dog and he has to shake it off. It irritated the dog. Well, they irritated that entity, which looks like water, that was about to devour them, and they had to leave. I don't know how or where the directors or the writers got that idea from, but let me tell you something. That's real. That's real. That is absolutely real. I've told you guys that I came from Cyrus. And Cyrus is all water. It's not covalent bonding like our water here. It's different. And it does seem to kind of be alive. Not as dramatic as this movie Interstellar, whatever planet it was, but it's almost like an amoeba reaching out to engulf something, But I was so impressed that they put that in that movie, that they gave the possibility that there are other life forms that exist completely different from us. I have a lot of respect for that movie, Interstellar, because it showed, and the actors who played the parts, were very, very open with the possibility of life being in other planets, and that there was no arrogance on the part of humans in thinking that we were the only superior species on the cosmos. That there were other beings that you couldn't conceive of, that they couldn't reach your imagination to understand or even let alone accept that these realities are real. It says in the Bible, the kingdom of God has not reached the imagination of man. That's a deep statement. That means that there's so much out there that we don't even have a clue as far as imagination. Well, I'm going to share some with you that I've seen myself in my space travels. And let me tell you, the Earth is an almanac. It's an almanac of all other worlds living separately in our Milky Way. For example, we have trees here. Well, we have a planetary system, a solar system, that there's only trees, nothing but trees. We have another solar system that has nothing but roses and flowers. Kind of like the Wizard of Oz when Dorothy was walking down that prairie with the poppy, and she fell asleep because there were many poppy seeds. There are planets where that's all you see. That's all you see, blooming. And they're big, they're small, they're different colors that are unfamiliar to us. We are familiar with the 7 rainbows, but there are some planetary systems that have 20 rainbows, and with different colors that we have never seen here on Earth. There are some planets that don't have a sun fully made, and that is complicated for me. I believe that there's a nebula in front of these stars, giving it a different backdrop color. Our backdrop here in our solar system is black and white, but in the other planetary system, it's pink, it's blue. And I believe that these are nebulae, and these planetary formations around these nebulae radiate the color of these rays because of the sun's intensity, depending on whether it's hydrogen or some other element that's composing of these stars. But they definitely do not have the morphology that we have here in our solar system. Just like we have planetary systems out there that are only trees and flowers, we have planetary places where it's only water. And I loved Interstellar because it showed that. Another movie with Kevin Costner, you've heard me mention it, is Waterworld. You know? And a lot of people didn't understand that movie. It was complex. But they were telling something about the energies and entities that were living. And I have to say Cyrus, because that's the only reference point that they used. But it wasn't humans, you know. They made it into some kind of cowboy, maverick type of film. But I saw the themes of Cyrus there as well. It was very subtle. But Interstellar was more dramatic. And of course, and then again, there is the question of time. You know, they were there for an hour. And when they came back, it was 7 years later. Fascinating, because this stuff is true. I'll tell you what causes that. The larger the planet, the shorter the time. The smaller the planet, the larger the time. Also, the speed of rotation of the planet will indicate the speed of years accelerated or detracted. These are truths that many people don't talk about because, you know, not everyone is a planetary scientist and not everybody understands these kinds of laws. But if you are a scientist, you know that this is very, very real, very plausible. Cyrus is 8 light years away from Earth. Okay? And if you know, 1 light year is equal to, I think, 1,666 miles, Earth miles. The travel time to get to Cyrus, if we had the technology, well, we will get to Cyrus from Earth in 8 years. Or in 16 years, exponentially multiplying 8 times 8, which actually will be 64. And that is going to influence the time that you get there and the time that you come back. But I digress a little bit from the main topic here. The main topic here is why is the Earth, or not just the Earth, but the solar system, our solar system, at the tail end of our spiral galaxy. And the reason is that we represent the blueprint, or the genetic blueprint, or template of all that exists within that galaxy. We're in the Milky Way galaxy. And if you want to know what planetary life forms are within the Milky Way galaxy, then you need to look at planet Earth. Because planet Earth, through its kingdoms, has every life form that are found in these planets, in the trillions, here. Now, it seems like the Earth, or our solar system itself, was going through its own morphology, its own evolution. You know, like the trees, the insects, they did not just pop up just like that, the way we see them today. No, they were in other forms, which eventually ended up like the ones that we see today. So when God created nature, He did not create it like we see it today. It was a germinal seed that needed to sprout and evolve on its own, just like humans. I've done videos letting you know that the human being, there was a time where the human being did not have 2 arms, 2 legs, 2 eyes, and a head. That he was a blob. And he had an antenna that would stick out of the blob when he would look around. Remember the movie Star Wars? Remember The Empire Strikes Back? Remember that probe that was in Thoth, the planet? And it was moving around, and it took a little antenna, went, looking for, looking for life in the planet hot. It was hot. They were looking for the Skywalkers, the alliance against Darth Vader. That's what we were. And you know what that is called today? The pineal gland. The pineal gland. The pineal gland, which the Egyptians knew all about it, was in existence before we had real eyes, nose, mouth, lips, arms, fingers, ears, legs, stomach, organs. It was the pineal gland, which deals with psychic, spiritual foresight. Of course, it makes sense, because spirit came first and the body came later. So, you had, for example, we have what's called the phyla kingdom, which is the world of insects and creepy crawlers. Every single insect in the ground, earthworms, red ants, black ants, even bed bugs, all of these life forms exist separately in other planetary systems within the Milky Way galaxy. Another example is the praying mantis. The praying mantis, when it was first formed and created, did not look like it does today. Now, okay? It looks like that today, large and kind of scary, because before then it was far much bigger. They are planetary system where you have praying mantis. They call them insectoids, and they're large. I'm talking about as large as a palm tree, and they talk. They talk like something from a cartoon. And I'm like, are you for real? And they sound like old men when they speak to you. And they won't discuss things with me. They allow me to see, but they won't go into a conversation. They said that it's too dangerous for me to understand. So I left it alone. But there's also a place where all you see are cockroaches. And they also talk and fly and have families, communities. Yes. You would think that you're going insane. There are places that all you see and you hear them, and these are earthworms. Remember the movie by Kevin Bacon and Reba McEntire about the worms that would break out of the ground? When they would hear a noise, they would come out of the ground and devour their victims. Remember that movie? That exists. That's all you see. God forbid you landed that planet and they hear you. They come out and devour you. I'm like, wow. In the earth, we have these worms, but they're not big and monstrous like that. So it looks like even nature had to evolve from its severity of morphology to an adequate size morphology. And this could have taken billions of years. Do you know how many insects we have on our planet? It's countless. There are bees, places where only bees exist, and fight with wasps and other types of flying species. You have a place where there's only birds, and specific birds, like larks or pelicans, live separately in their own planet. It's almost like the universe was painting a canvas and trying to figure out what size and what proficiency level these animals were to have, and whether or not they will be beneficial to humans who will come into the scene later, and see if they can be part of man's evolution. Maybe they're too large, like dinosaurs, to be of any positive use to humans. They have to be reduced into an adequate size that can be appreciated by human life and another life. So that's what it feels to me. Like it's a form of natural selection that took place, and I guess the ancient ones decided to what proportionality these beings were to express life on Earth that was balanced. And this makes sense because we've had in our anthropological history huge giants, the Nephilim, right? Let's talk about that for a minute. The Nephilim were giants, and they ate all the animals on the planet. And when there wasn't any more to eat, they started to eat humans. Until God struck a balance and had to destroy them, or they will consume humanity. So in order to save humanity and the rest of nature, the Nephilim had to be eliminated. It was too unbalanced. So we see this in Earth's history again with the dinosaurs that were huge. Did they benefit the evolution of other life forms that was coming into the scene on Earth? No, it didn't, because they, like the giants, ate everything in sight. And they were huge, so they needed to eat a lot. This would have depleted the resources of the planet. So the gods had to struck down and completely eliminate the dinosaurs. Today, we have remnants of them through amphibians and reptiles, which becomes more balanced than their large size. But then again, they had to emerge that way because life on the planet was basically determined by the poles. It was still forming. Even our Earth was young and still forming. Remember, our Earth was not a perfect spherical globe. It became like this now. But before, it wasn't like that. It was a blob because it was forming. And at one point, it was a flat Earth. And everything in life reflected that morphology. So this is evidence that the Earth itself is a living entity, a living being, a lesser representation of Gaia. Okay? And that the Earth has different varieties of life forms, and is here because the gods didn't have anything better to do. No. It's because every single life form on this planet exists elsewhere individually. It's like a lab experiment. Well, let's do this, let's do that, let's see what. Oh, this way, okay, this gets a grade A. Put it on planet Earth and make it an appropriate size, morphology, so all of life can benefit. It's like almost like a laboratory. But we get this notion too when we look at Adam and Eve and the fact that they were created. You know? They were created. No, so that too was kind of like a lab animal. And when he created Adam and Eve, it was Adam and Lilith, perfect, too perfect that they rebelled and left the solar system and said "fuck you" to Jehovah. So he had to go back to the drawing board and recreate them, which became Adam and Eve, taken from the bone of Eve. Because the other way that they did it was too perfect, and they reached godity before they even left the lab. This is why now humanity has been put in a morphological space of slow evolution and steady growth. Not too quickly like with Adam and Lilith, the original Adam and Eve, who defied Jehovah and left and created a war in the heavens. Now, I've done videos on that. We know what happened to Lilith. We know the mistake that the gods made with her and Adam Cadman. See? People don't want to admit that the gods can make mistakes. If we as humans can make mistakes, so can they. Because we were made in their image, in their likeness. Okay? Read your mythologies. They are not as perfect as religion wants to portray them to be. Otherwise, the level of pain and suffering and misery that we experience daily won't be here if that was the case. If that wasn't the case. So I am giving you a quick answer that all the life forms, and it's infinite here on our planet, that exist can be found elsewhere individually in our Milky Way galaxy. This is why we are at the tail end. We represent all of life in that Milky Way that you see here in a more reduced and balanced form. I want you to give this thought and then get back to me and tell me what you think. Okay? Bye-bye. Please donate. Please give so we can continue to have these wonderful goodies. Okay? It's 281-690-8825 for Zelle and Cash App Fernando FERNA number 5 NDO. Guys, I hope you enjoyed it.